Thanksgiving dinner is going to taste so much sweeter with that win at North Carolina, isn't it? So, anyways, I've been fairly busy this week getting ready for Thanksgiving, but I wanted to talk about, is Brent Key the right guy for the job? Kind of now given the body of work. I'll talk about it at the end of the video. I think it's very unlikely we beat Georgia. This is not a controversial opinion. So I want you to go back to the week Jeff Collins was fired and ask yourself, what were the expectations for Brent Key at that moment? He was named the interim head coach. So we had Pittsburgh, Duke, Virginia Tech, Miami, North Carolina. 6 ACC games left on the schedule. How many wins did you see? Did you project us to get? So let's look at the schedule. Pitt, I would have said there's no chance of us winning. Or Duke. Probably would have given us a toss-up. Virginia. I left off Florida State. No chance of beating Florida State. Am I looking at the right one? Hold on. Now I am. So Pitt, Duke, Virginia would have been a toss-up. Florida State, I would have said no choice. Virginia Tech, maybe. I probably would have said no chance with it being in Blacksburg. Miami, maybe. North Carolina, no chance. In my opinion, 1 or 2 wins would have been the absolute ceiling, was really my projection when Brent Key took the job. Now, what did he end up doing? He ended up beating Pitt on the road, coming back at home and beating Duke. Let's see. Now, his starting quarterback gets hurt against Virginia. We put Gibson in, who looks really bad. We end up losing a close one to Virginia. We end up getting blown out by Florida State. But then we go on the road with a true freshman, Zach Pyron, that had not taken any snaps at the D1 level and had been on scout team prior to that. So we go to Blacksburg, get a win. Not an easy place to win. I know they're down lately. Then in the Miami game, Zach Pyron gets hurt, breaks his collarbone. We end up losing, and it runs away from us toward the end of the fourth quarter. We get beat. Then we go on the road for the second time, being 3 touchdown underdogs, and get a win against North Carolina. Now, North Carolina had the 3rd-ranked offense in the country at the time. We ended up holding them to 17 points. So I'm not even really concerned with what happens with Georgia as far as looking at, is Brent Key, the guy for the job. Now, that being said, Jeff Sims looks considerably better at quarterback. On defense, look, let me put it this way. I have some apologies to dole out to Andrew Thacker. At the end of last season, when we fired Pat Node, I thought we fired the wrong coordinator because our offense was bad, but last year clearly our defense was worse. Since Key has taken over, and evidently Key and Thacker are fairly close, and it seems like Key thinks very highly of Thacker. Our defense has been phenomenal. We're second in the nation in turnover differential. I think this would be a top 30 or top 25 ranked defense had our offense not put them in horrible positions and not really given them any help. So our defense looks phenomenally better. And against North Carolina, we're able to transform Gibson, make a liar of me. I never thought not only did I not think we would win with Zach Gibson, I didn't think we would score a single touchdown with Zach Gibson. He looks like a completely different quarterback against North Carolina than he does against Virginia or Miami. I have to think that that's coaching. I mean, what else would you attribute that to? So, and it seems like the players really rally around Key. We also just signed a 4-star quarterback. We signed an offensive lineman not ranked out of Baltimore, but he's at one of these factory high schools that's like nationally ranked, 6'7", like 330 pounds. Now that quarterback's a 2024 kid. But that is probably the most valid criticism for Key, is we don't know what kind of recruiter he'll be. Now, we do have obstacles to recruiting with academics, as we've talked about. But here's the thing. When you think of all the teams in the ACC, who's in a better, more fertile recruiting ground than Atlanta with Georgia Tech? Miami, certainly. Possibly Florida State, being in Tallahassee, being in Florida. Who else? Who else would you rather trade geography with as it pertains to recruiting? I can't think of anyone other than those two schools. So, the obstacles to recruiting for Key might not be quite as high as you think. So I'll just say, I think Key, not only has he met expectations of what he was asked to do up to this point, I think he's blown out of the water anything we could have expected from Key, given what he inherited. So what did he inherit? He inherited a team that had won 9 games in the previous 3 years. I don't feel at all wrong or out of place in saying Georgia Tech was the worst Power 5 team in the country for those 3 years. We gave, Collins a pass in year 1 and really year 2. What we saw in year 3 was things seemed to be getting worse. We had possibly the worst offense in the country and the worst defense for particularly last year. We had never won back-to-back games in those 3 years, not once. And we had never beat a team that finished the season ranked. So, and the culture of the team had just disintegrated. When Key took over, he talked about, hey, these are kids, you look on the sideline, and he was talking specifically about the Central Florida game. We're just waiting for something bad to happen. We're not going out there and making plays and making something happen. We're just waiting for something bad to happen. And inside of a week, he changed that, and he didn't dance around it. Hey, have you changed practice? Absolutely, we changed practice. Kelly Quinlan talked about, visiting practice when Collins had just took over, and Collins was like, oh, we're having 3 practices go on 3 different fields. And he was really nice about it. He just said, I had never seen really anything like that. Like, how could you possibly monitor as a head coach everything that's going on 3 different fields? So I do think Key can win at Tech and be the guy. It seems so similar to the lead up to George O'Leary taking over. Not that he had taken over, a horrible situation, but he stepped up in the interim, and in my opinion, ended up being the best coach that Georgia Tech has ever had. Ends up going off to Notre Dame, lied on his resume, whatever, but he was a phenomenal football coach and the primary mentor of Brent Key. Brent Key turned down head coaching jobs. Why? One, I'm aware of, UAB. to stay there and learn under George O'Leary. Who would be the other guy Brent Key would call a mentor? Nick Saban, and he talks about Nick. Brent Key has a national title ring, if you're not aware of, from 2017 when he was the offensive line coach at Alabama and they won the national title. Let me frame it this way: if Brent Key did all this for another school, let's say he was at Auburn, takes over for Auburn, and has the same resume and body of work from that point forward that he does at Tech, similar wins and whatnot, would he not be at the top of your list or near the top of the list? Like, I would think he would have to be. And I think the advantages of hiring Brent Key as head coach, one, financially, I think it's going to make sense because he's going to take less money than what it would take to get a Chadwell over, or other people who are at the top of your list. Two, he wants to be here. So the problem in the past at Tech, and we don't much remember it because Paul was a special case where if Paul had the success at Tech he did with running a conventional offense, he would have been hired by another school, a bigger school, for more money. Tech has kind of been this launching board school for coaches to go elsewhere. So if we were to hire someone else and they had success at Tech, I do think they would leave inside of 4 years or 5 years. I don't think that'll be, I'm not saying that wouldn't happen with Key. It's less likely to happen with Brent Key. So I'm a Brent Key fan. Like I said, I'm glad I'm not making the decision, but I don't think he can do anything really more than he has to say he's the guy. He's already here. He's already proven he can win. He's proven he can go on the road twice, being 3-score underdogs and come back with a win. So I don't know what else he can do. Now, that being said, do we have a chance against Georgia? Not really. I don't think. I know, it feels good. We go grab a W against the number 13 school in the country. Georgia ain't no North Carolina, right? I mean, how many 5 stars does Georgia have on their roster? 10 or more? I mean, they recruit like 4 or 5 a year. This is a game where, going on. Now, when we do beat Georgia, it has been on the road. The last time we won at home against Georgia, George Godsey was the quarterback. I think it was 99 or 97. But if I had to put like a figure on it, just because the talent is there's such a parity in talent. Georgia could probably play the worst game possible, turn the ball over 4 times, and we could play the best game possible and still come out with a loss. Now, that it would be a close game in that scenario. If we play Georgia 100 times, statistically, we might win 1, I would think. So you're saying there's a chance, though. Yeah, there is a chance, but I would say probably about 1% chance. We're 33 or 35 point underdogs. The big problem with that is I don't see us being able to score much on that defense. Best case scenario, probably 10 points. We were able to get 21 against North Carolina, and they're one of the worst defenses in the country. So, can you hold Georgia's offense to a touchdown is probably the question. But hey, crazier things have happened. Who thought we would win against North Carolina? And if we did go on the road and beat Georgia, I would drive to Athens immediately. If I don't end up going, I might end up going. I haven't decided yet. But I would probably get some hedges for myself. But I don't see it happening. It wouldn't even derail their season. They could still make the playoffs with a loss to Tech. They would have to win the SEC title game at that point. But yeah, let me know what you think. There's a lot of varying opinions on if Brent Key is the guy. And by the way, I'm totally, if I had any desire to bring Dion on as the head coach is over now. I saw a reporter tweet or talk about the reasons Dion might be ineligible to take a Power 5 job is from Prime Academy. So I saw that on his resume. I didn't realize it was defunct now. I think it only existed for like 3 years. It was in Texas. There was all sorts of financial irregularities with Prime Academy that he co-founded, and everyone who played there was ruled academically ineligible to play D1 football. So make of that what you will. I would only think that they had a charade of classes or academics that weren't really classes, and it was just, there for football. Now, there have been other cases like that, but that alone, I don't want anything to do with any of that. That's not something that's going to fly at Georgia Tech. You got to be solid on all those fronts. So, again, let me know what you think. Is Key the guy? I think he is. I would like to see Key named the head coach after the Georgia game. Yeah. I probably won't be able to make a video till after Thanksgiving. I'm flying out, traveling tomorrow. I'll be back Friday. See you guys then.